Before I start, I want to make it clear that some aspects of the story may be graphic and unpleasant, particularly as it involves suicide. Additionally, I want to acknowledge that the narrative encompasses various elements and beliefs rooted in Hmong culture, tradition, and religion. If anything seems confusing, please feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll do my best to provide clarification. Thank you, and I hope you find the story engaging. I remembered walking through a forest, trying to find my girlfriend. I knew exactly where I was supposed to meet her. This was already the second time I brought her home, and my parents made me send her back and pay her grandma for the trouble. I don't know why my parents are against me marrying my girlfriend. I didn't know what happened between my parents and hers in the past. I didn't know their history, and I didn't even want to listen to them. I hoped my girlfriend, Chi, was still waiting for me. I hoped she didn't think I'd abandoned her. I ran as fast as I could because I knew my parents would send people to look for me. It was going to be dark soon, and negative thoughts filled my mind. However, once I got there, Chi had already hung herself on a tree. The rope we'd prepared was long, and she'd already tied it. There's enough slack for me dangling on the other side. I kneeled down, just looking up at her corpse hanging from the tree. I said to her, "I'm sorry, Chi. My parents had locked me away and didn't want me to leave the house. That's why I didn't come on time like we promised. But I'm here now. It's going to get dark soon. I won't let you be alone in this forest, my love." I was about to climb the tree and go up there to hang myself next to Chi, but my two older brothers, my uncle and my cousin, arrived. They'd been following me. They wrestled me down and tied my hands behind my back with rope. I told them that Chi and I had already made a blood promise, and even if I didn't die, she would come back to get me. I begged them to let me die with Chi, but they wouldn't let me go. That's all I remember. Then I woke up from the dream. It had been many years since I'd been having this dream. I didn't know why I had this dream. Maybe it meant something. Sometimes dreams are just dreams, but I knew that sometimes they meant something. It's a way for spirits to send a message. My wife and I had just gotten married not too long ago. She was already pregnant with our very first child, which would be a daughter. I had all the signs and symptoms to be a shaman. I'd had bad dreams, seen spirits, and always avoided places like funerals because I saw spirits. Sometimes I could see the spirits of the dead crying over their bodies at funerals when people came to see them. A funeral was for the spirit to see themselves and accept the fact that they had died. There were days when I woke up and my foot was hurting so bad that I had to hop around. It was as if I had gout, but it wasn't gout. It hurt differently. I knew I had a spirit guide because one time I was hurting so bad. My father took me to see a grandpa who was a shaman. After he looked at me, he said not to worry. My shaman guide was just angry that I didn't work with them. I knew the grandpa wasn't lying. The grandpa got a new pair of shaman bells that were still wrapped in a bag that he ordered from the Hmong in Laos. He opened the bag and told me to slip 2 of the bells on my fingers. I did, and my hand started shaking and I couldn't control it. And the pain on my foot suddenly vanished. It was strange, so I took the shaman bells off, and my shaking stopped. That's when I believed I had a shaman guide or shamanic spirits. The grandpa gave me those 2 bells and said that for some reason, he just needed to buy new bells, even though his sets of bells were still good. There was a reason he had the urge to buy those new bells. It was for me. He gave them to me to bring home. Then he told me that if I changed my mind and decided to be a shaman, to go back to him, and he could be my master. I brought that set of shaman bells home with me. It was strange, though. Whenever I woke up with the pain in my foot, I would take out those sets of bells, and put them on my right hand, and my hand would start shaking, and the pain would slowly go away. Then I'd take the bells off, and the pain remained gone. I was happy that I could cure my own pain just like that. No need for medicine or anything. One night I was already in bed. My wife went to shower, and then came out and lay down in bed with me. She told me to place my hand on the right side of her stomach, because she could feel the baby moving there. I was feeling the baby, and I was happy that it was getting so big inside the womb. That night, I was still in bed reading a book about dream interpretations. It was very interesting stuff. I like to read about horoscopes, zodiacs, or dream interpretation. My wife was already sleeping. I read, and then I saw something move on my wife's side. It was summer, so my wife slept with her abdomen exposed, and I could see that the baby was making a little movement. I closed my book and reached over to touch the part of my wife's stomach where the movement was. As I placed my hand there, my wife also placed her hand on top of mine. I thought she was sleeping already, but she wasn't. Then I looked at her hand, and it was purple in color. I looked up, and it wasn't my wife's hand. There was a lady wearing all black, with a red sash and blue stripes arm sleeves. Then she moved her hand and started walking out of our bedroom. I shook my wife a few times to wake her up, but she was deeply asleep. I got out of bed and went after that lady. I walked out of the bedroom, and I heard crying from the living room. I walked over, and it was my siblings and my parents crying and looking down on the couch. I went to look, and it was me. I had died? I tried to talk to my parents and my siblings that I'm still alive and standing right there, but they didn't see me. I looked toward the door going outside, and the lady wearing black was standing right there looking at me. But this time, her face wasn't black and blue anymore. I had died in my sleep. This lady is the one that's coming to get me? She reached her hand out and I went over, and she said,
"It's time for you to go. Come with me."
I asked her where we were going and who she was. She told me that I am the person she loves, and we've made a blood promise to go together. For some strange reason, I felt like I knew her, and I trusted her. We held hands. The moment we walked out of my parents' house, I felt this strange happiness. My sickness and stresses were all gone. I felt so free. As we walked away from our house, I could hear my parents starting to mourn. The lady said to me,
"Don't listen. I know it's sad, but if you listen to the crying of your parents, you will not be able to go. And even if you go back, you won't be able to wake up anymore."
I asked her where she was taking me. She told me that we're going to go to a place and be reincarnated into a different life. When we got to the gate of heaven to go reincarnate, the judge at the gate to heaven stopped us and said to the lady,
"You cannot go. You're a person who has sinned. You've killed yourself, and you've gone to drag this man with you. That's 2 sins. You must stay until someone comes and cuts you down from the tree where you hung yourself."
Then the judge looked at me and said,
"Young man, you're leaving behind a wife who's still pregnant. You cannot go back anymore because your body is not the same. I must send you to the gate of reincarnation."
Right then, the lady who brought me there said to me,
"Before you go, remember who I am. I am the one you love. I am an orphan. My parents are both gone. There will not be anyone to come look for me. There will not be anyone to come and cut me down from that tree. Remember that when you go and be reincarnated, there's someone who's stuck in this world."
I woke up, and it was just a dream, but it felt so real. That must be the dream of when I went and be reincarnated into this life. My wife was still sleeping by my side when I woke up. Last night, I didn't turn off the light on my side. I'm just glad that it was just a dream, but I feel like some dreams are related to my shaman guide or my past life, the one before this one. It is as if my shaman guide spirits are trying to show me something. It was only 4 a.m., so I turned off the light and tried to go back to sleep. I just turned to my side, and I heard the sound of my shaman bells that I received from the grandpa. I thought I was just hearing things. Then I listened closely, and I heard it again. It was coming from the dining room, where I left the bells in a cabinet. I got up and went outside into the hallway and turned on the light. I walked over to the kitchen where I kept my bells. I opened the cabinet, and my bells were still in there. I closed it, and then I felt something in the living room. I felt this negative energy, as if someone was angry at me. I don't know how to explain it. I didn't close the cabinet. I left it open to go look in the living room. No one was there. I know it's just my shaman guides getting angry at me and trying to scare me. To be honest, I'm too young, and I do not want to be a shaman. It's weird being a shaman. I got back to bed and thought I wouldn't be able to fall asleep, but I was able to. That morning when I woke up at 9 a.m., my right foot was hurting really bad again. I couldn't get out of bed because any movement would cause me pain. I told my wife to go get my shaman bells. She brought it to me. I put the bells on, and my hands started shaking. But the shaking caused a lot more pain this time. It was strange. Usually the pain would go away, but this time it didn't. I tried it many times, and the pain wouldn't go away. In fact, the pain got a lot worse. It felt like someone was holding my right foot to the fire. I stopped it and took the bell off. I told my wife to get some ice and put it in a bag and bring it to me. She did, and I put the ice on my right foot and lay back down, staying in bed for a little bit, and fell asleep. I dreamed that a strange man was riding a horse and tied my hands together. He was holding the rope and I was walking while he rode the horse slowly. I asked him where he was taking me, and he said he was taking me to a village. Once we got to the village, he got off the horse. He was a very tall and big man. He untied me, and there was a nice little house made of bamboos in front of us. He told me to follow him inside. The man knocked on the door, and a lady came and opened the door. We went inside, and that lady went and sat down on the chair with her sister. Those two ladies were beautiful and looked exactly the same. The man who brought me there said to me,
You humans have 3 souls. When you die, one will go to the ancestors. One will go to the gate of heaven to prepare a place to stay and wait until it's time to go reincarnate. The third one will stay with the dead physical body for a few years. In order to go reincarnate, the 3 souls have to come together as one. When it's time to go reincarnate, and one of the souls is not present, the reincarnation will carry on. But when they go to reincarnate and become a baby, when the baby is born, the baby will die in that first year.
I didn't understand, so I asked that man, does that mean that the two ladies there were actually one soul? The man said,
Yes, but there are supposed to be 3 of them. It's almost time for them to go reincarnate, but the third one is missing. The one that's supposed to guard the dead body is missing. Therefore, if the 2 ladies here were to be reincarnated into a baby, the baby would die in the first year.
I woke up. It was strange. Shaman dreams are like everyone said. They feel so real, but they're just dreams. Many young shamans are going through this process. I don't understand why my shaman guide is taking me to see places like that, especially the 2 souls that look alike. One thing I realized is that there's only one lady in my dream, the one that hung herself, the one that took me to reincarnate, and the 2 sisters all have the same face. My foot was still hurting so bad, and I couldn't even get out of bed that day. The only time I'd get out is when I needed to go use the bathroom. My father told me that tomorrow he would go and have the grandpa shaman come over to look at me. On the following day, it was my wife's appointment to go see her doctor. She's already 8 months pregnant, and that's the last time she will see her doctor before the 9th month. I couldn't go with my wife because I was in so much pain still, and I was waiting for my father and the grandpa shaman to come. I wanted to drive my wife to her appointment because I didn't want her to be on the driver's side. All I could do was tell her that I love her and be careful driving. After my wife left, my father and the grandpa arrived. I knew that they were already in our house because I can hear them talking in the living room. It sounded like they were putting things together for me to do a shamanic ritual. After a while, my father came into my room and said for me to get up and go to the living room. I told him that I can't because my foot is in too much pain. Then he took my computer chair with wheels out from under the desk and told me to get onto the chair and he would push me to the living room. I got onto the chair and he pushed me to the living room. The shaman grandpa said to me that I have to do a ritual and he will help me. I told him that my foot is in too much pain and I can't jump or do anything. But the shaman wanted me to try.
If you don't try, then you don't know if it's going to help you or not. You have Shaman guide for a while and they wanted to help you, but you will have to help yourself too. Come sit right here, on my bench.
I scooted over from my computer chair onto his bench. Then he said once I started shaking, try jumping. He put a shaman veil over my head, and then I put on my bells, and my arms started shaking. Then my body started shaking. Then my legs started shaking, and before I knew it, I was able to jump on the bench. There was no pain. Those of you who are not shamans, you guys may not know, but when you're in a trance, it feels like a dream. My first time doing a ritual, when I started jumping, I could hear the grandpa shaman talking, as if he were proud of me. I could hear him talking to my father, but that talking slowly faded away. Before I knew it, I didn't hear anything in our world. All I remember was running through a jungle. I hoped my girlfriend, Chi, was still waiting for me. I hoped she didn't think I'd abandoned her. I ran as fast as I could because I knew that my parents would send people to look for me. It's going to be dark soon. What am I going to do if I get there and Chi isn't there anymore? I was thinking all kinds of negative thoughts. However, once I got there, Chi had already hung herself on a tree. The rope we'd prepared was a long rope. She already tied the rope where she dangled on one side. The other side still had enough slacks for me to hang. I kneeled down and just looked up at her corpse hanging from the tree. I said to her, "I'm sorry, Chi. My parents had locked me away and did not want me to get out of the house. That's why I didn't come on time like we'd promised. But I am already here. It's going to get dark soon. I won't let you be alone in this forest, my love." Then I heard a voice saying,
You're here. It's been a long time, but I'm so happy that you're finally here. Come and cut me down.
I was a bit scared. Was that Chi talking? She's already dead. Is that her talking? I was a bit scared, but I started climbing the tree. When I got to her, I used my shaman sword to cut her down. Then I held her to my chest and untied the noose on her neck. Chi's black face slowly turned pink again. She turned back into a very beautiful person. Then I told her not to worry. I'm already able to come back and cut her down. Chi opened her eyes, and 2 tears ran down on the sides of her face.
I've been waiting for so long for you to be a shaman, so you can come and cut me down so I can go away from this place. Why do you wait so long? But it's okay. I'm happy that you're already here. I am an orphan girl. My parents have been gone. I know that no one will find a shaman to cut me down, and I was hoping that you would come. I've been waiting here for so long.
Chi reached up to touch my face. I looked at her smiling face before she slowly vanished from my arms. Suddenly, I can hear my father and the grandpa shaman talking again. I flipped the shaman veil off my face. My foot no longer hurt. I saw my sister standing there. The grandpa told me that I was doing well for my first time. When I finished my shaman ritual, I was able to walk again. I guess my shaman guide spirits were happy that I've performed a ritual. Therefore, they took the pain away. Then my sister told me that we had to go to the hospital right away. I asked her what had happened. Did my wife get into a car accident? My sister said no. She said we had to go, and she would explain to me in the car. While in the car, with my sister driving, she told me that my wife had gone to see her doctor. They discovered that something was wrong with the baby. She was sent to the hospital, and we didn't know what had happened. I was worried when my sister told me this. When we got there, they had already taken the baby out through a C-section. My wife was already in a hospital room, but the nurse and the doctor took the baby away. They gave my wife a lot of medicine, so she was very sleepy. She knew that I was there, but she was very sleepy still, and couldn't talk without dozing off. Then the doctor came in and talked to me. The doctor told me that they found that the placental cord was wrapping around the baby's neck, so they had to do an emergency C-section. The baby was born a bit early, but they think the baby will be okay. The nurse and the doctor asked me if my wife and I had picked out a name. I said we did. We wanted to call her Dua Si, which means sunshine in our language. My daughter had to stay at the hospital for a bit longer. Once her lungs functioned just fine, the doctor allowed us to bring the baby home. Nowadays, my daughter is already 16 years old. She's a healthy baby and never had any issues while growing up. I've been a shaman for a while, but I only became a shaman to keep myself healthy so I don't upset the shaman guide spirits and get sick. Thank you for listening to my story.